of central bank digital currency. For China, it's not just about developing its own ECNY. It's also about dominating the underlying CBDC technology in the same way they've done with 5G technology, so they can be a major exporter of CBDC infrastructure to countries around the world that desire to have their own central bank digital currency, but don't have the wherewithal to build the core technology from scratch. And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
Just recently, a bill, I believe, has been floated by Senator Loomis of Wyoming, Senator Gillibrand.
Senator Lummis,
excuse me, and Gillibrand of New York, sort of broad outlines of regulation for crypto. And I guess the question is, first, what's your broad impression? Second, just, if you can't answer that, which is doubtful, but what's your overall view on the need for regulation in crypto? And then how well the bill, from what we understand, divvies up responsibilities of regulation to both the CFTC and SEC. How well do you think you can work together to actually execute on regulation of crypto?
So there's a lot you packed in there, and I've had good dialogues with Senator Lummis, and I've known Senator Gillibrand for years, and certainly worked with her very closely in the Obama years. But whatever comments I might have, I'm going to share with them, not with you and your audience now. And I really haven't reviewed their bill. It was released yesterday. But let me go to a broader sense. Crypto, this speculative asset class, $1.25 trillion roughly dollars right now, does not have the investor protection that the public needs. And I would contend, if this field has any future, what the field needs as well. And there's three sets of big public policy issues. It's investor protection, which the Commodity Futures Trading Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission is kind of, our domain. I'll come back to that question. There's the issues of financial stability and money creation around stable coins and the like, that the banking regulators, Treasury, we have some role in that as well, because many stable coins look like money market funds. Many algorithmic stable coins, really are under our Howey test, very similar to, securities or our investment contracts, what it's called. And then thirdly, illicit activity, and how we guard against the use of these coins to circumvent the public policies around sanctions and illicit activity and ransomware and the like. So there's a lot going on here to unpack, but I would say most of the tokens, thousands of tokens, have an entrepreneur in the middle, or a group of entrepreneurs in the middle, raising money from the public, and the public's anticipating profits based on that. That's the core of a definition of an issuer-based securities regime. That's what the SEC was asked to do in the 30s, painted with a broad brush, Thurgood Marshall's words, not mine, to protect the public against sham and fraud. I had the honor to chair this CFTC, another great agency focused on derivatives, and particularly derivatives around commodities and so forth. Ours is an issuer regime, protecting the public when a group of entrepreneurs should disclose something to the public. And you're a research analyst, Rich. You know how important that disclosure is. And to get that disclosure, make sure somebody's not lying to you, defrauding you, not trading on insider information. That's what we do well at the SEC. And so most of these tokens are actually, right now, I'm not prejudging any one of them, but right now, they're investment contracts, they're securities. And thus the trading platforms, the ones that you cover with great interest, some public, some private that want to be public, those trading platforms should come in, work with us. I've said this publicly, we're willing to think through how to use our exemptive authorities. And basically, we've got these projects. Registered crypto markets, registered crypto intermediaries, and yes, registered tokens. We are also looking very closely at the stable coins because, frankly, they look a lot like funds and how they're operating. And guess what? They're offering yields, and sometimes they call them rewards, sometimes they call them yield. That's a return on something. So we've got all these projects, but Chair Benham and I have talked off and on about how we do something, enter into a memorandum of understanding, because some of the tokens are commodities, Bitcoin being one of them. So there's a lot here to work with the bank regulators, work with Congress if appropriate, moving forward. I know I went on a little bit.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that video just to make you think. And we have Gary Gensler on the regulation of crypto. And a lot of people in crypto ask themselves, why hasn't the SEC come in and regulated crypto? The reason why is because the big banks and big corporations have been behind us from the beginning. Crypto is the economy. It's the foundation of the fourth industrial revolution. They can't regulate it yet. Why? Because it's a global ecosystem. We have Gary Gensler and Janet Yellen, the NWO chess pieces. They're working it right now. And I'm going to get into Janet Yellen later. But we had Michael Saylor talking about Bitcoin, talking about the deniers. Guys, don't forget he was one of those deniers, saying that Bitcoin had no chance. But then he becomes one of the NWO chess pieces. We see the Morgan Stanley fingerprints all over MicroStrategy. But we know Bitcoin is for the robots, algorithms, and drones. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. But we have Janet Yellen saying that she was wrong about inflation. And then they're talking about taking the tariffs away from China. And this is how the Hegelian dialectic works. They want China to rise. We see it in the stock market. China is going to rise, and America to Babylon is definitely falling. They're trying to drive you out of that gas car with these gas prices. Hang on to your gas car. We know the current grids that we have right now cannot handle all this electricity. Renewable energy is where the central banks want us to go, but we are a long ways from there. Remember, the NWO caused the problem. Wait for the reaction and run in with the solution. We know that when it comes to drilling, they stopped a lot of it. That's the reason why all these gas prices are going through the roof. Inflation is hitting food and energy. And who's benefiting from it? That's right, China. China, the dragon, is going to rise. America, the Babylon, is going to fall along with the US dollar. The digital yuan, backed by that digital SDR, is going to be the new reserve currency. And remember, the Crypto Teacher wrote about it a long time ago, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
You've made a significant bet on Bitcoin. So if all of this maturity occurs and if you see all of this flush cash getting wiped out of the system, this, in a sense, leveraged money, could that then be that you see Bitcoin coming down considerably and just not ever reaching any kind of particular lofty height, and then you stand to lose quite significantly?
We don't see it that way. We actually see it the opposite, which is the big question forever has been, is this real? And if it's real, is it going to be banned? The deniers said this wasn't real. And of course, they're being discredited as the administration and Congress and regulators embrace Bitcoin. And the skeptics have always said, well, it's real. It's better than gold, but it's so good. It's too good to be true. And the government's going to ban it. So if the deniers are wrong and if the skeptics are wrong, and it's pretty obvious they're both wrong at this point, it's not going to zero. And if it's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million, because it's obviously better than gold at everything that gold wants to be. And if it was just worth what gold's worth, it'd be 500,000 a coin. So I really think we've crossed the chasm there. With the bill that was put on the Capitol floor today by 2 senators, a Democrat and a Republican, and with Janet Yellen's speech at American University April 7th, where she recited the legend of Satoshi Nakamoto and explained why digital assets are critical to the future of the United States. I think now that that's happened, people are realizing that this is a real thing. It's going to be with us. And Bitcoin is, like it or not, it's unique. There really is no network in the world that has its level of adoption or its level of security. And if I put $500 billion on the table and gave it to you and said, create another one, you couldn't create another Bitcoin for $500 billion right now. So I'm very bullish about where we're headed from here.
House Ways and Means Committee, and she said that the Biden administration is considering lifting some of the tariffs on Chinese goods that had been imposed by former President Trump. She said that China is guilty of unfair trade practices, but that the current tariffs do not serve our strategic interests and that a decision could come in the next few weeks.
I believe some of the tariffs did not serve, really ended up being paid by Americans, not by the Chinese, hurt American consumers and businesses. And we are taking a look at those and looking to be able to address, to reconfigure those tariffs in a way that would be more strategic.
Where do you stand on tariffs in China? That was something that was imposed during the past administration.
Yeah, so the president, as you know, I'm not a fan of tariffs. They are taxes. So my philosophy is less is better and zero is best. President Trump used those to drive China to the table on the phase one agreement, which I think was a significant agreement. I think now is a time where we look especially at a fair, transparent exclusion process so that small, medium-sized businesses in America that can't get those goods yet sourced outside of China, we certainly don't want to hurt them or their workers in this process. So I think that is going to be an element of discussion in this China Competes Conference Committee.
And you can see this is 2019. We have essentially 2.5 years that were affected by COVID, which we all allow for that. We know that the spending was higher than, it was all deficit spending, by the way. But the year after COVID, the first year of the budget that we're here discussing today, is higher than the deficit was before COVID hit. And then it goes up on an upward trajectory every single year, with one slight exception there, during this budget. How can you claim that you're reducing deficits, or how can the Biden administration claim that deficits are being reduced in this 10-year budget?
Well, it's a reduction relative to what we inherited.
So there's not a real reduction in the deficit.
Well, obviously the baseline does have deficits rising, but proposals that we've made would.
So we're not accomplishing the goal of reducing the deficit in any way in this budget.
We have not proposed policies that would lead to greater deficits. And in the next 10-year period.
But we're leading to greater deficits in every year. Yeah. So that's I call that swamp math. You go outside of the Beltway one step, and there was no one in America who will believe that the Biden administration is reducing deficits. It's harmful to the future of the country, and I don't understand how you can be claiming that deficits are being reduced when it obviously is not the case. I also want to talk about in the budget, there are, let's put that away. There are multiple, about 36 new taxes proposed in the budget. We again agree of the devastating impact of inflation on the people that I represent, people across the country. Do you believe that these tax increases, for instance, do you believe that raising the corporate tax rate will help lower the price of food or other household goods?
Well, you just said that you think that deficits are important to reduce, and the president's budget
they are important to reduce, but
proposals that will help us do that.
Well, we need
done in a way that's fair.
We need to have growth policies that get us out. Do you agree with that? We need to have growth policies in place that will help to reduce the deficits going forward.
The president does propose growth policies because we've invested in infrastructure. We need to invest in people.
But do you believe that raising the corporate tax rate will help lower the price of food?
I do not think it will raise the price of food.
Do you believe that raising taxes on fossil fuel production will lower the record high gas prices?
Over the medium term, the way we lower them is to address climate change and to switch to renewables.
Thank you.
In the short term, we have a problem. When I said that inflation would be transitory, what I was not anticipating was a scenario in which we would end up contending with multiple variants of COVID. I was not envisioning impacts on food and energy prices we've seen from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So, as Chair Powell indicated himself, both of us probably could have used a better term than transitory.
That I think central bank digital currencies were concocted in hell by Satan himself. They are incredible control by governments over everybody's bank account, and they're going to create a void of privacy for every individual citizen. I think they're horrible, but I think that's where they want to go.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.